Hey guys, Kyle the Death Knight of Anime here, bringing you my review for My Hero Academia chapter 197. And okay, so to start off with, we learned in this chapter that Asui didn't clone herself, but rather masked her presence by covering the others with her mucus, which actually does make even more sense than my clone assumption, because if you looking back on the final page of last week's chapter, pretty much there is in a way a bit of a small detail as a dead giveaway, which did give away what was going on, which is that the two os basically the two there are three Ospreys there. Pretty much two of them are shadowed out, and pretty much two of them have a bit of a shadow on them, and the other is basically clear as day. So I think what that was and what we were seeing in that final. Looking back, I guess what we were seeing in that final panel was basically Horikoshi's way of saying that things aren't as obvious as even the clone theory. Like it was basically him saying that the pretty much the one that you can see as clear as day is the real Asui, but the ones that are actually shadowed that have like a bit of a shade on them are actually Asui's teammates that are pretty much covered in her mucus. So it was kind of one of those things where he pretty much he basically pulled a double. He basically pulled pretty much what Horikoshi did basically is basically pulled a bit of a double gotcha on you. Like he set us up with the possibility of Asui clones, but in reality it was just Asui's teammates that were covered in her mucus. So, and I do gotta be honest that I think even knowing that I think the whole mucus idea is actually even cleverer than pretty much the clones. But I mean there is still the drawback that it is still them, but actually kind of but it definitely throws the. It definitely serves its purpose, but by completely throwing the big beast guy of Class B off, which it's a clever strategy too, because it actually works with pretty much because only because the big guy looks like a beast. It's actually very much a I think in a lot of ways we could say that particular whole strategy, it actually plays heavily into basically a bit of a common factor of tricking wildlife, which is basically by masking your scent, you can basically just kind of trick. Basically, you can trick wild animals. So yeah, it's one of those things where it's cool, but it's very common. It's kind of a neat twist on common logic to trick wild animals. So it's cool in that sense. And yeah, we have to talk about Shinso, because Shinso has just been on fire in this freaking was just on fire, and honestly his development just like it's weird to say, but Shinso, if Shinso, like, I think it's weird to say, like, I've always liked Shinso, but I think after this, I think Shinso is my top 5 pretty much favorite character in My Hero Academia at this point. Like I've always kind of liked Shinso, but only based on the fact that he hasn't really, unfortunately, he didn't really get a whole lot of screen time past the sports festival arc. Was kind of one of those things where I did like him as a character, but he never really got at least the top 5 status, only because of how little screen time he actually got past that point. But having said that, with what happened in this chapter, I can safely say he is at least top 10 or top 5 now for sure. And then when it comes to Shinzo in this chapter, when you really think of how everything played out, and even though everyone had a part to play in capturing the Class B team, it was Shinzo who made the biggest difference. And the thing is, this chapter just jammed the final nail into the coffin of why Shinzo should be in the hero course. He might not be the strongest, but with Shinzo, he basically knows how to turn that weakness into a strength. In fact, pretty much throughout the chapter, basically the self-awareness of him, there was kind of always this bit of a self-awareness of him looking like Aizawa, but there was definitely a lot of moments in the chapter, just in panels, where he obviously is like where it's almost kind of mirroring what basically everything Aizawa would do, and there was a bit of self-awareness of him kind of being like Aizawa in this chapter, just from the panels. And all that came full circle with him actually thinking a lot like Aizawa would. Just in the way that, like, a lot of what Shinso did, you could argue it would kind of be the exact same stuff that Aizawa would do as well. So, it's almost like, I don't want to jinx it, I don't, but it almost feels like this is kind of building up that. It almost feels like this is kind of what Horikoshi is doing. Is he's almost kind of building up that, of course, Shinso is going to get into the hero course, but after he's done in the hero course, it almost feels like Shinso is going to be like basically Aizawa's sidekick or something like that. Like I know that Aizawa kind of, I know Aizawa has been portrayed as that hero who kind of works alone, but honestly, I can kind of see, I'm honestly kind of seeing Shinso being Aizawa's sidekick in the future. It's weird to say, but yeah. But like I said, that could just be the fan of me talking, and just the fact that he did just so much amazing stuff in this chapter. And I guess going off something that Aizawa said in this chapter, I guess going off something Aizawa did say previously in this chapter, what makes everything of what Shinso did in this chapter even better is that it does play heavily into what Aizawa said about the impracticality of UA's entrance exam in the sports festival arc. Like, despite the fact that Shinso's quirk isn't of the physical variety, it's very much used as a support quirk. Shinso still proved that despite that handicap of his quirk not even being best used for physical fighting or anything, he still proved that given the right situation, he can do practically anything with his brainwashing. Like his quirk could be used in, like, given the right situation, his quirk can be used in combat. It just kind of all depends on how the situation is set up and how Shinso can adapt. So, yeah, this really plays off that, yeah, definitely Shinso has a definite future as a hero. He's shown he can use his quirk for combat situations, even though the quirk itself isn't best used for combat. He really is like a second, again, he really is kind of like a second Aizawa in that sense. But even more than that, however, I do feel that with this whole setup of what Shinso can become and how he can use his quirk now, I feel that this is almost setting up the possibility of the entrance exam possibly being definitely a little reformatted in the future, basically because of what Shinso is probably going to accomplish in the end of his journey. And because, yeah, really, it's basically true that I think this Shinso proves that you can do anything, that any kind of quirk can really be used for any situation as long as you practice with it and use it correctly. So yeah. Now, let's talk about what'll happen next, because with this chapter, Shinso's done being a part of Class A's team. Like this chapter basically ends like his, like it was already established from the beginning that Shinso is going to be like on both teams, and this chapter basically ends in Shinso's time on the Class A team. So he's going to be moving on to the Class B team. And which, of course, as we know, the Class B team, from what we know, is going to have Monoma in it. And maybe Horikoshi will surprise us, but with this whole setup of him being done with Class 1A and him moving on to the Class 1B team, part of me is getting the feeling that Shinso will actually fail in the exercise with him being on Class B's team. Just to just in a way to kind of balance things out, like with him, even though he's won one, he's probably going to lose another. Because like the thing about it in like my mind right now is in a place where like I'm imagining the series of events are playing out is that Shinso and Monoma are gonna start off not even getting along, like even worse than, or not, it's not even gonna start off not even getting along, pretty much due to Monoma's inferiority complex, which is gonna start causing them to fail the exam, and it isn't until near the end, at the very last minute, where they basically fail, where they start working together. Of course, it's gonna be at the near the end, so they're probably gonna fail either way. But like, it's one of those things where, as much as I don't want Shinso to fail, that's kind of how I see Horikoshi. I'm trying to like. It's one of those things where I'm kind of, as the series has gone on, it kind of has gotten easier in certain points to actually kind of predict as to what Horikoshi's gonna do, and with this one, I feel that Shinso is going to fail the exercise with Class B just because, I feel it would probably be the only way to provide development for Monoma, who desperately needs it. Like with Monoma, we pretty much know how self-absorbed the guy is. So it's almost like him. It's almost like, I don't know. It's almost like him failing this test is almost what needs to open his eyes or something like that. But and it'll also showcase that Shinso isn't compatible with everyone too. So yeah, it's really kind of a situation where I don't want Shinso to fail, but it might be the only thing that'll actually get Monoma to actually start developing. But like I said, I could be just on a completely, I could just be completely wrong here. I'm not gonna pretend like I'm gonna know exactly what Horikoshi's gonna do, but that's kind of my thought process on what he might do. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. Now, if I did have one gripe with this chapter, is that I wish Kaminari was given something more to do than just playing possum. I mean, I get that him pretending to be captured was part of the plan, but I wish something had happened that would have given him the opportunity to actually contribute. Because the more I think about the previous chapters that all began with this whole exercise, the more I realize that he's actually done very little aside from the initial confrontation. Although, I guess his spotlight was almost kind of one of those things where it was a necessary sacrifice for Shinso to develop. But, yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, AnyList, Crunchyroll, or Facebook. And yeah, just tell me what you... go ahead and tell me what your guys... I want to hear your guys' predictions as to what you think is going to happen with Shinso as part of Class B now. Like, do you think they're gonna fail? Do you think they're gonna succeed? And in either situation, do you think Monoma's gonna develop? But yeah, guys, that's all I got. Later.